HOT, Hero of Time, off of the N-E Café thread at the N Europe forums, has asked us a question. There's a series of questions. So we'll ask the first two questions and we'll get some feedback, and then I'll go on to the next section. And he asks, how much stock do you put in reviews these days? And do you think people put far too much emphasis on game reviews, #scores? And do you think scores themselves should be done away with? Who wants to get us started?
I don't put any stock into reviews really these days. I feel like I trust my own judgment enough that just looking at a game usually is enough for me to decide whether, first of all, whether I'm interested, and then if I see it a few more times, I can understand if it's for me or not, basically. I think reading a review still is good, and I definitely like reading other people's impressions of games from the forum specifically, or on podcasts. But a score for me now these days doesn't mean anything. Like I'm not interested in a score. However, I don't think they should be done away with, because I do think they can be quite useful sometimes. And one thing that I have done recently and in the past is usually I'll look at Metacritic at the top, sort of anything above 70 on Switch, and just look through it and see if there's anything that I've missed, basically, over the last year. If there's anything that's crap, like, for example, Divinity Original Sin. Now, I've heard good things about this, but I don't really know anybody who's played it. I don't really know what the game's about, and I've seen a couple of trailers. But when you see on Metacritic that it's like one of the highest rated games on the Switch, that kind of makes you interested in a way. Well, okay, there's like 60 reviews of this game, and they've all given it like a 9 or a 10, so it must be good for some reason. And then obviously you can go on YouTube, watch a few gameplay videos, or listen to people talk about it. So in that way, reviews, especially if they're collected together like on Metacritic, can be useful. But like, one thing I will never do is read a review of a game and just go straight to the score, because I don't think it's that useful. But then again, scoring a game, I think a scale of 10 is the most you need. Anything more is unnecessary. Even 5 can be decent enough. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How about you, Greg?
I was actually going to say similar to Nick. It's like we've all been gaming for a few decades now, and you sort of know what you're into and what you're not into, and sometimes that can like maybe keep you away from trying different experiences, because you look at something and think, nah, I'm not going to like that, despite what maybe like reviews are saying. But I'd like to think I'm a pretty good judge of what I like, and more to the point what I don't like these days. So I probably don't put as much stock into reviews as I maybe did a few generations ago. But I still see them maybe as a decent indicator of like if there's a particular genre you're into, and there's a game that maybe catches your eye and you think, oh, this could be decent. If you go on to like, as you say, like Metacritic or something, and you see it's been getting like 3 or 4 out of 10 or something, you sort of take a wee step back and go, oh, right, it's maybe not that great. And that does give an indication to the quality of the title. So it may have aspects of stuff that you like, but when it's that bad, it's like, you know, maybe best to steer clear of that. But even when you're on Metacritic, like, pretty much for every single game you look for, if you go to like the user reviews or anything, there's a huge spread. You'll find some people saying 10, best game ever. And obviously you'll get some idiots that just put a 0 down just to bring the score down. But you will get people that are like genuinely like, oh, this is just 4 out of 10, I just didn't get on with it at all. And like, a lot of the time you just kind of have to judge it for yourself. Demos are obviously a good way of trying games out before you buy them, but obviously that's not always the case, so you're kind of going based on reviews, but mostly on your own judgment.
It is. I put a lot more emphasis on listening to you two, you know, for example, and thinking, oh, Greg's played a game that I'm not going to get on with, and it doesn't matter how positive. So it's what I like, and then it's a lot of what my friends think about it. And what do you think, though, that people put far too much emphasis on game reviews? Look on Twitter, and the I've had a few words to say about the Xbox and PlayStation fan wars going on at the moment with teraflops. They like to say, we've got 9 out of 10 games and you've only got 6 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my scene. Let's put it that way. And I doubt if it's your scenes as well. But I completely agree with you. Metacritic is a handy reference point for me, and that's all. I far rather read someone's views on a game, and sometimes you're trying to work out the mechanic of a game. You're thinking, well, I like this. What's the? I need a review that's broken down how the game plays and how they feel. So a lot of the time, there's quite a few reviews I've read, and it's only a review about how they feel about the game, and it's like I need to know how that game handles certain what's the scoring system or what's the unique mechanic in that game. Anyway, any other viewpoints on that?
I was going to say, like, an aspect of like video reviews, there's sometimes I watch video reviews and I still don't feel like I have like a decent grasp of what the game is actually like, and you're maybe actually better just somebody's maybe got a playthrough of like the first level of something or like a certain section. It's maybe best to actually go and watch and see what it is actually like, to just what a normal level is like, instead of like a review sort of picking out all these wee specific points of levels that are maybe like the highlights of those levels, or like if they're complaining about something just to show that aspect. It's maybe best just to see what the game is just like as you're playing it.
I agree with that. I generally try to stay away from video reviews. I definitely think watching the first 10 or 15 minutes can give you a better indication. I do like the Easy Allies reviews though, because they're usually 6 or 7 minutes, and they're very well written by whoever's written the review, and obviously Brandon Jones's voice is nice. So it is nice to watch them, especially if it's a Nintendo game as well, because I think their reviews are generally well written and they don't really stray off too much from the sort of central points, like the mechanics, how it runs, things like that. So a little bit of the story. But yeah, I generally don't really care that much about the score, as I definitely prefer to read an actual review. And reviews have sold me on games before, actually.
That's the next question.
Oh, was that the next question?
In the past,
sorry.
Has a review sold you on a game that you weren't originally interested in? So there's a game, I can't be bothered. There's a load of games on the Indie Direct recently, Indie World Direct, and maybe a good review of that will sell you on the game. Nick, you were going to say?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you'd already asked that at the beginning, but the first review that ever sold me on a game was Rainbow Six on the N64, because a little bit of background, I think it was N64 magazine, it must have been issue 30 or 40 something, so it was midway through the N64, maybe closer to the
I
end
remember
of the N64.
reading that review as well.
Now, they gave it a 73, so it's not like a world beater by any means, but the actual text of the review, reading it, made me think, wow, this game sounds absolutely incredible. And it wasn't.
No, I've played it. You're right.
It ran terribly, but the concept of the game obviously was really good. But yeah, reading the text, reading about the game, and I must have been like 12 or 13, so I wasn't like.
It just gave you the feeling that you would end up being an SAS soldier, and busting doors down. And
it sounded really cool, and so it sold me. And then obviously over time as well, like I've picked up loads of games over time just because the review has been good, because or because they've given it a low score, but the how they've talked about the game or what they've said about the game has been enough to convince me, well, okay, this game's only £10 at the minute on sale, so I'll give it a go. And
for me, it's a kind of Metacritic thing as well. It's especially for games on a sale. It's just like you said. I see a game on sale. Lightfall was one of the most recent ones, and I saw it on an Indie Direct before, and it's a game that I might be interested in if it's in a sale. But then you go on Metacritic, read a couple of reviews, or the synopsis of reviews as well, and it's like, oh, okay, I pick it up. So yes, they definitely get me to pick up a game that, you have a slight inkling in that I probably will like it, but it's in my wheelhouse. But, I've got too many types of these games. This game's on sale, then I'm semi-positive. Anything above, like you said, maybe a 70%, semi-positive kind of review.
It can just push you
Will
over the
sell
edge.
me on it. Yes, it can. Absolutely. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, there's probably been quite a few. Like I can't even really remember too many examples, but something like perhaps like Pikmin back on the GameCube, for example. Like back when I was that age, like we sort of like flower people running around doing stuff. It's not the sort of thing that would probably really have like enticed me of just looking at pictures or anything. But like, and even like strategy games or whatever, I wasn't into those sorts of things. But I was prepared to like read Pikmin reviews, and obviously like Nintendo, it's got that Nintendo quality about it. So reading reviews, it's like, it sounds interesting. So like, obviously give Pikmin a go, and like Pikmin, as you both know, I'm sure, is a fantastic series. But there's other games like, as predominantly like as a Nintendo gamer, really, I do often have a PlayStation as well. Just that I get like somewhere down the line. It's usually like the second iteration of the PlayStation console, because they always have like the slim models or whatever. So there's been games recently like I suppose the most recent God of War, like 2018 or whatever, where like it's probably not the sort of game that I was really that into, but getting all the praise and being like in the game of the year contender and all this here, it's like, yeah, even though I didn't really like the original God of War games that much, it's like, right, I'll read some reviews, and just when I was reading them, I just took an interest and gave it a go, and I did buy it, and I've only maybe played it about an hour or two. I haven't really managed to get into it yet, but I do plan on going back to it at some point. But I don't know, in my early time with it, it's like, I don't know if it's going to justify all the praise that it has got, and that's just back to that thing of you kind of just have to judge these things for yourself sometimes and not be swayed.
Has the opposite ever happened? Have you you're so interested in a game, and then the review has put you off it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Recent examples for me would be older games that have come out. One of them in particular was the Ninja Gaiden Arcade Archives. It wasn't a classic 2D side scroller kind of Ninja Gaiden game. It is a beat 'em up in a kind of Final Fight vein, and my past experience with it and my memories of it, all the nostalgia, is it's fantastic. You can grab people, spin them over, and throw them through a telephone box. You can swing on light fittings. You can do this, you can do that. And then looking at the videos and thinking, it holds up for an older game. And then reading reviews of it and finding out it's quite on the appalling scale. It's something I could have dropped my £6 on without thinking, and then read a couple of reviews of it after checking on Metacritic, and then not picking up at all. How about you, Greg?
I suppose I've got a really recent example of that, but I ignored it anyway. Steep on the PS4.
Always online.
Reviews of that are pretty mediocre. There's a bit of a range. Some people like the game, and then other people say it's not great. It's a bit boring. And it's an open world kind of like snowboarding kind of game where you like pick events and stuff. And I didn't realize until after, but it's an always online experience. And I haven't really played it enough to form my own opinion on it, but the reviews could easily have swayed me into not picking it up, and for a while they had stopped me from getting it, but it's on sale on the PlayStation Network at the minute. I thought, I'm kind of in the mood to play a snowboarding game, so I did just go for it, but the reviews could easily have told me not to.
Yeah, we should all listen to reviews. No, I go with my gut instinct a lot. And then Jonas came along. Wait, I've lost where I am. Yes, Jonas came along, and he said, speaking of reviews, back in the days of magazines, they were our main source of info for the content of mainstream releases. We talked about it, but he asks, would you say that back then, did you pay more attention to the text in the review, the score at the end, or the screenshots showcasing the game's look, feel, and aesthetic? So what did you focus on more out of those magazine pictures?
Well, back when it was N64 magazine, I was really into that. That was the only source basically that I had for new games. I occasionally got NOM, Nintendo Official Magazine, as well, but N64 magazine was the main one. And
same here.
Every time there was a new screenshot, for example, I remember the first time they released the screenshots of Zelda Gaiden, and I was thinking, wow, a new Zelda. Look, he's a kid and he's on a horse, because they had the young Link on the horse, didn't they? It was one of the first screenshots. And I think that translated quite well with the early internet. I remember in 99, 2000, I remember going on IGN and downloading a guide for Ocarina of Time, and then obviously started reading the reviews as well of games. I think IGN was the only website I really used back in the early 2000s. And GameSpot as well, actually, maybe as well. GameSpot and IGN were the main ones. And I used to, obviously, I read the reviews, and I remember when GameSpot gave Zelda Twilight Princess 8.7 and everyone was going crazy. But if you actually read the review, I think it was Jeff Gertzman who reviewed it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was somebody else. Bang on. Absolutely bang on.
Was it not the 8.8? Great.
Possibly 8.8 or 8.7. So it was below 9, basically. It was below 9. And everyone was kicking off about it. But yeah, the magazines, I think N64 magazine, I absolutely adored the sense of community that it had. Like, you felt like you knew the staff, and it was just, the humor was excellent. I mean, okay, I was a young teenager, so it was like, but the humor, even going back and reading those magazines now, like, it still makes me laugh, some of the jokes. And I think that was like, I really trusted their reviews, the N64 magazine, because they gave Star Fox Adventures 73 as well, and they were bang on the money. It wasn't that great. So yeah, I don't think it's the same. I think too many people have an opinion and a voice these days, and I think back then, maybe it was the fact that we were young, maybe we were a little bit naive. You put a lot of trust in these people, and you always knew as well that if it's a Nintendo game, Nintendo Official Magazine will give it a high score. So, be careful. Giving like Cruising USA 9 out of 10, okay. But, I feel we've lost that a little bit, but at the same time, we've got our own community, we've got our own friends or people we know online who we trust. And like, if you read a post, for example, in the diary section on the forum, you always know if it's from certain people that you understand who that person is, what games they like, and you understand whether the game will be for you or not. You don't need a score. You don't need an arbitrary number. You can just read what they've written. If they enjoyed it, they didn't enjoy it, what the pluses and minuses were, and then you understand instantly whether you would be interested in the same thing or whether it could be for you. So
nice plug for the forums. Anything to add, Greg?
I still miss N64 magazine. I was a big fan of it as well. I think I probably got into it quite late. The first one I remember getting was it was like I had an orange cover. I think it was maybe like issue 50 or thereabouts. So it had like ISS Millennium on the cover.
I remember it.
At the time. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I loved the humor and stuff too, but like in terms of whether like you paid most attention to like the text, the score at the end, or like the screenshots, it's pretty much a combination of everything. And I did like their wee breakdowns at the end, where they give like, I suppose they give like graphics and stuff a score, but they have like a wee bit of text sort of as well. It's not just a number, but you basically had to read the review as well to like you do nowadays. You have to like get a full understanding of the game really. But like I was just thinking about what you said there, Nick, about the Star Fox Adventures review, and back at the time I probably thought it was a better game than the 73 they gave it. in hindsight, having played it again recently, 73's
Generous.
Yeah.
quite possibly, yes. But like, I do remember in the issue after that one, where everyone was complaining about it, they had a wee cut out 98% for
And you
people
could
to
stick
stick
it
on
on
the previous
Stick it
version.
on, I remember that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bit older. I go back to magazines like Zap 64 for the Commodore 64, and they followed up an Amiga magazine as well. But yeah, it is a mixture of everything. It's that wow factor of the screenshots. It's like, oh, I like that. You see an Ocarina of Time for the first time, and those screenshots is amazing. But then I just devoured every word of the reviews, every article of previews or anything they did. And then the final score is just the icing on the cake. If it's a game you're going to pick up anyway, and it's got a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, and that just sells it to you extra, doesn't it? N64 magazine was fantastic.
I kind of miss some of that mystery where, like, it was a time like before, like, everybody had the internet and all, so you can watch loads of videos of games before you buy them. When you're just seeing the screenshots, you had that sort of thing in your head. It's like you sort of like, you can't wait to see what it's like in motion, like, because you don't know. You're just going off these like still images. And obviously, it's better now where you can research things, but part of me kind of misses that mystique.
I think another problem is the news cycle as well. Like, I used to go crazy waiting for N64 magazine. For my mum going to Tesco, I was like, Tuesday, Mum, you're going to Tesco today. Please go to Tesco. Please get my magazine as well when you go. And then obviously I subscribed and got it posted. And when you got it posted, it sometimes would arrive a couple of days early. But it was that once a month or once every 4 weeks, there was that you were just waiting for more news. And then you'd spend an hour reading the magazine cover to cover. And that was it. You were done for the month. And you had to wait till the next month for some more news. And I think now it's a little bit oversaturated. And I mean, I think if someone had told me as a kid, you can have one N64 magazine every day, you got an hour's worth of reading every single day, I would have been like, yes, please give it to me. But then you realize after a while that if you read a 128-page magazine every day, you've got to fill it with a lot of crap for it to be relevant. So yeah. It was the fact that, yes, it was once a month, but almost every word in every magazine was something informative or useful, or, whereas now we've just got people putting out nothing, basically, just to keep the cycle going, like Nintendo Life's terrible clickbait articles, things like that. So,
Boosh! What I put down. And that was Jonas's last point, and we've covered it really. How much has that attention shifted with internet reviews? So it's gone from the magazines to the internet, and I think we've covered it, boys. Go
so I was just going to say, Nick kind of already mentioned Easy Allies once about he likes their reviews. Their podcast Frame Trap is actually really interesting as well, because they dig deep into each individual game that they've been playing. And that probably gives, the review sort of gives you, the general overview, I guess. Mm-hmm. Whereas, they'll maybe spend, 20 minutes just talking about one particular game for a while. So it's worth listening to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never listened to it. I will check that out, definitely. Do reviews entice you? Do you go out of your way to read a review these days?
Not anymore.
Nick?
Not anymore, no. I mean, because that's the thing, but by the time a game's coming out, you already know if you want it or not. Most of the time.
Because you've seen the videos, you've seen the previews, you've seen it in motion, basically.
If you're on the fence, then obviously, why not give it a watch? Like Animal Crossing, for example. 4 weeks ago, I was adamant that I was not going anywhere near this game. Then coronavirus came along and changed everything. And then, obviously, we had the Direct, which I really enjoyed, and I saw a little bit into the later game what was possible, which is that's all I needed, basically, to push me over the edge. Just to see, because the stuff they'd shown in the game before was nothing. It was just the very early stages, and that's, I guess, why it wasn't that interesting. And the whole situation with the save as well. And that pushed me over the edge, so as the situation got worse and I knew I was going to be staying at home for a long time, I was like, all right, it doesn't matter, I'm getting Animal Crossing, I don't care. And actually I understand it's been getting high scores like 9.1, 9.2. I've not watched any videos or read any reviews because what's the point? I knew I was going to get it, so I didn't bother.
Same here. I haven't read a single review about it. I know my feelings on it. I would like it, but not yet.
Not yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on that, Greg?
I have probably watched a couple of Animal Crossing reviews actually. Maybe just to try and sell me on it, but it kind of just looks like more of the same to me. But I do have my like certain subscriptions on YouTube, and like I'll eventually see like obviously there'll be reviews from different websites or whatever up here and out there, and I do sometimes find myself just watching reviews of games that I'm not even that interested in. Like Death Stranding, for example. I know like that game would bore me to tears, but I'm interested to know what like people are saying about it, like to find out about it. Yeah, or like reviews of games that are, again, I'm maybe not interested in, but they're supposed to be amazing. It's like, right, I'll watch some reviews to see what they are saying about it.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.